Hello, ladies and gents. We are back. A very warm welcome to the Fallout Bar. Night number 10. The darts is back. Festivities are over, but the party does not stop at the Alexandra Palace. Myself, Jack Obigawa, joined by the lad that wishes he was from the Northeast, Charlie, and Mr. Cam McFarlane as well, sporting his Fallon Sherrock jumper tonight. You must be missing her already, Cam.
Yeah, that's it, mate. It's been too long since she's been on, so I thought I'd just bring a bit of pink back to the show.
Go on, Charlie, respond. Go on.
Nibble.
I'm not gonna nibble.
You're not so glad you agreed to this last minute, aren't you?
Yep.
Of course.
Charlie's connection just dropped out.
How convenient. As if mine looking like it's been shot on a potato isn't helping enough. But we carry on. I'm back in Oxford. I'll be back in Nottingham tomorrow, but I'll be moving house. So Lee will be hosting tomorrow night's show. And then hopefully we're all set for the rest of the week. A big hello to everybody in the chat room. I'm going to try and flash up as many comments as possible tonight, but bear with me because I'm obviously working on a smaller machine. So we will just crack on with the show, I think, boys. First of all, normally we'll go in show or running order, but I think there's some big news to talk about before we get underway with the rest of the darts. It would have been match number 4 today, the first session of the evening session, but Vincent van der Voort has withdrawn from the tournament following the fact he returned a positive COVID-19 test. As a result, James Wade has received a bye to the last 16. And if anything sums up James Wade's career, he's into the last 16, having played one game and averaged 83. Is that not the most wading thing you've ever seen, Charlie?
It is, yeah. He must be feeling pretty good about his tournament so far, to be honest, because his draw is quite favourable for him. But that was going to be a tough game for him, so it's a shame to see someone drop out because of COVID, but it just sort of confirms that it's still there and it's still having a say on what we do. It's just a shame that someone's had to sort of had their tournament ruined by it, really, and they've had to sort of go without giving a chance of putting up a fight or potentially getting through to the next round.
It is indeed. And I suppose, Cam, first of all, we need to say get well soon to Vincent van der Voort, but now there is the very realistic fear that this might not be the only case of a player having to leave the tournament because of COVID-19.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. First of all, yeah, hopefully he's not having it too bad. Hopefully he's got it similar to how I've had it over the last week or so, that it's a bit of a bad cold. It's not even that, I wouldn't say, and it's been all right. But obviously some people get it a lot worse. So hopefully Vinny's all right, first of all. I was really looking forward to that game tonight. I thought it could have been one of the better games of the day as well. So, yeah, unfortunate for him. It does give you the little worry that we know that the Dutch boys are quite close and they tend to practice quite a lot, especially over Christmas when they're all staying over here. So apparently so far they've all tested negative and they're all double jabbed. So we've got no worries just yet. But hopefully this is the last case we get of it and that we can see the rest of the tournament run out as it should.
Yeah, they have indeed. We've asked for clarification on that because obviously that photo has been doing the rounds on social media. All the players that may have been in contact with Vincent van der Voort have tested negative. They followed all of the protocols, and Marco van Gerwen will be retesting ahead of his game tomorrow. Obviously, Dirk Van Davenburger played earlier today, but like I said, Marco van Gerwen will be retesting tomorrow. All the protocols have been followed. Nobody has broken any rules, and they will continue to monitor the situation as it keeps evolving. And with that, boys, let's start looking at the dart in action. And Charlie, we were talking about it on air, off air before we started the show, that the Smith treble that we predicted a couple of days ago was very much on for a large part of this game. Ross Smith 3-0 up against Dirk Van Davenburger, but he loses 4-3 to the big Dutchman, he just flicked a switch.
I'm still surprised that Ross Smith hasn't got through, to be honest. At the time of watching the game, when he was 3-0 up, I thought this is it. He's dead and buried now. And to be honest, he was outplaying Van Davenburg. The scoring was there, but as soon as he flicked that switch to go and win 3-1 and stay in the game, that was it. It was incredible, just the way that he turned his game around, and that's what we've become accustomed to seeing from Dirk. He's so, once he gets his scoring right and his 180 hitting is phenomenal. So, it's just such a shame that Ross Smith couldn't hold out and get the win. But we've seen comebacks throughout this World Championship, and rather than Dirk getting level and then losing, he's gone one better and got over the line.
Yeah, Cameron, look, there's plenty of famous lines that fly around the commentary box. One of them right up there is "Don't miss the big number." Rod Harrington's one of his absolute favourites when he is got the microphone in his hand. And that's exactly what Ross Smith did in that fourth set. He could have walked off that stage a 4-0 winner instead. Nearly 45 minutes later, he is out of the tournament.
Yeah, I know you put it in the group chat after it happened. I shouted it at the telly as soon as it happened. You can't miss the big number. You just can't do it. Not at this level, because you will get punished and it's going to cost you. And I think, to be honest, I kind of felt Ross was a little bit lucky to be 3-0 up anyway. I don't think he completely outplayed Dirk early on, but then as soon as Dirk, he just like he sped up his throw a little bit. He was just a little bit more aggression in the throw, and he started putting the scoring together then, and sort of comfortably outscored Ross from there on in, who just, we know he can hit a lot of 180s, Ross anyway. He's a prolific 180 generally, but he just couldn't find them today. I mean, 2 over the course of 7 sets is not what you expect from a player of his quality on the treble 20. And yeah, I think it was good from Dirk. But one thing I did take from Dirk was the fact that he had that moment where he got attacked by the fly or the wasp or whatever it was at that time, and he went and had a little play with the crowd at the back after he kind of got rid of it. And at the time, and he went and scored 22 or whatever he scored after that. It was a bit of a poor visit, and you were kind of thinking, yeah, he shouldn't have got involved with the crowd there. But what he said afterwards was the fact that he said, I'm always really pumped up when I play. And he said, when we had the little break while they got rid of the fly or the wasp, he said, it calmed me down. He said, I need you to be pumped up again, so that's why I did it. He said, and then I didn't hit a good score, but it just was what it was, and I carried on. I was like, fair enough.
Yeah, I wonder if a couple of other players later on in the evening were watching that moment and maybe should have learned a thing or two from those actions. But we'll get on to the 4th game of the evening, all in good time. Craig says, hope you're all well, lads. Very well, thank you, buddy. Thank you for joining in. Marcus says Smith never recovered from missing that big number. And there's a little bit of discussion in the chat room at the minute about should Wade withdraw? It'd be hollow to win the World Championships after being given a bye. Look, these things happen. And if Wadey was to withdraw now, someone else would get a bye, and the entire tournament is in turmoil. Unfortunately, this is the times we live with. It is absolutely not ideal. But the minute that Adam Hunt was already knocked out as well, he's already lost in the tournament, so he can't come back in. We see this in all sports, and it's never ideal when somebody has to withdraw, but the walkover is the only way you can push on. Tommy says, put it this way, if we have a few of these COVID results, and a big asterisk will be against this tournament, potentially.
Maybe
but at the same time, maybe in the short term, but at the same time, Gezzy's win was behind closed doors, and I think that's forgotten very quickly. There's a lot made of him not being announced as a world champion to a crowd for quite a while at the start of the year, but actually it's already Gerwin Price is the best player in the world. He's world number 1. He's world champion. It's not he's world champion from behind closed doors. No. I get that lingers over Dimitri and Jose de Sousa a little bit as players that perhaps weren't really at the back end of majors before a lockdown, but Gerwin Price he'd been there, he'd won tournaments there. And I'm just not sure that still applies to his world championship. So at that point, I'm not sure why it would apply to this one, unless it happens from the last day onwards. I'm a little bit apprehensive about that, but you'd hope that steps will be taken that after New Year, all the players are taking it as safe and as much as possible. There's big money on the line and big opportunities. I'm just double checking. They are ready to go. Amazing. As always, folks, those that you watch the show or listen to us regularly, you know that we will try and drop some interview clips into the show for you. We have 4 ready already, and hopefully going to get Johnny Clayton by the time the show wraps up as well. The interviews are available in full on our YouTube channel where you are watching this stream right now, but don't leave us just yet. Watch the rest of the show and then go back and watch them as and when you wish. First up is your first winner of the day, and the man that spoiled the Smith treble, Dirk Van Davenburger.
Of course, it's the world champion. You want to play him and you want to beat him. Obviously, I think he's better than me, but I think the thing I can do, let's say, if I show what I can do, I think I'm better.
Short and sweet from Dirk, catching me out completely. This is what happens when we just don't get the clips before the show starts. Thank you very much, PB. Interesting words from Dirk. Look, if he plays like he did in the final 4 sets and he goes at Gerwin Price and reacts and plays the way that Kim Huybrechts did earlier, just with a little bit more success on the outer ring, on Price's throw, who knows what Dirk can do. He's been deep before. Big thank you to Mike for a donation comment. He says, your work is unreal. Would love to join the team. Mike, we really do appreciate your comment and feedback. We are not taking on at the minute. If we do, though, keep an eye on Twitter and the rest of our social media. We might have a look again after the World Championships. We'll reset in January. And if there's any spaces, we will advertise via social media. But we really do appreciate you making that donation. A few more comments. Wade needs to make the most of it, but I doubt he will. It's a tournament he doesn't like. Completely agree. We'll get on to Wade again afterwards, though. Let's talk about the darts that we're watching at the minute. Rose says DVD needs to step it up big time. A little bit of a flat year, perhaps, in comparison to what we'd expect from him. Every dart player says that. And there's talk about do the fans get a refund after only seeing 2 out of 3 games today? I think that's not how it works. They've seen darts in the session, so they will have paid full price. On to game number 2, boys, and it was another Smith in action, possibly the most impressive person in round 1, Michael Smith against Willie O'Connor. And yet again, Bully Boy looks superb in this one. Not quite the 106 average he produced in round 1, but it was a 97 nonetheless, 40% on the doubles, 10 maximums for Bully Boy. He looks so good right now.
Yeah, he does. He looks really good. He was, like I say, it wasn't quite the 106 of the first round, but it was over 100 for the majority of the game, if I remember rightly from watching it. So, again, another performance that's going to make him very difficult to beat from anyone. That power scoring, again, 10 180s in there again as well. We've seen big finishes from him, the 4-ton pluses as well, which, if you're hitting those and hitting them at the right time, one of the points with the ton pluses, the first 2, he didn't even have to go the bull route on either of them as well, because he was a comprehensively outscoring O'Connor at that stage as well, who played pretty well himself. And that was kind of the measure for me of how good Bully was the fact that Willie O'Connor put it to him, especially early on as well. He won the first set, didn't he? And then so he had opportunities to go further ahead as well. And I think even though he was getting outscored, he was keeping it on Bully the whole way through. So I thought it was a really impressive performance, probably more impressive than the first round, just in terms of what he had to do to win this one.
Yeah, completely agree. And Charlie, look, we say this an awful lot about how styles make matches and how a fast game will suit a lot of players. I think Michael Smith is one of those that can potentially be upset a little bit by rhythm. Willie O'Connor's not the slowest player in the world, but he is more methodical than Smith. And actually, I think he handled that pretty well. And that's a good sign of where Michael Smith is, because if he doesn't get dragged into that, if he can still play at his own pace without worrying about his opponent, his mental state just looks so much better than it has done for a long time.
Yeah, and I think he's in a much better place in terms of dealing with his disappointment as well. I know he came out in one of the previous tournaments and said that he's been working hard behind the scenes to not shake his head, to not, sort of get himself down. And I think that's the way. He'll have gone in with 1-0 down. He lost 3-1 in the first set. He thought, oh, okay, that's fair enough. But then he reeled off the next. What did he reel off the next 3? So he'd done a job and he was in a real rhythm. But then credit to Willie O'Connor for them fighting back, because he could have easily just gone down 4-1 there, and that would have been it. But he still had the fight to put it back to Smith. But Smith was able to up the gear. He's really impressive. He's been really impressive. And that 10 180s is the one that stands out for me with the checkouts as well. But I think his mental state is in a much better place now, because he's not beating himself up, and he's not as easily disappointed as he usually was, where he was getting frustrated with himself.
Indeed. We're going to hear from Michael Smith in a minute. I'll just jump into the chat room a little bit. Apparently, I was popping the champagne when James Wade got a pie. Not quite. And then I've just been told by Cam that I'm too tight for champagne. That's why there's a bottle of Moët sat at my house when I get back. Yeah, cheers, lad. Nice try.
Yeah, how long's that been sat there for? And it was
2 weeks. Work sending me. Yeah, work sending me. Shh, don't spoil a good at. On to then, let's hear from Bully Boy Michael Smith in his post-match press conference.
I'm not saying no, but I'm not doing nothing. I'm just playing the game. I'll leave all the bar setting to Michael and Gezi and Peter. They can do all the things they want to do. I'm just here to play darts like Johnny does. Probably 80% I'm going to play the next game. And I was on about it today to my dad. Johnny is proper a model professional. He's won 4 tournaments this year. He wouldn't tell you he's won 4. He's just so quiet, relaxed, gets on with his game. And that's how I want to be. I don't want me telling people things what I've done. I just like people watching and seeing from afar that what I'm doing. And going into this tournament, that's what I've been trying to tell myself what to do. Just let other people talk for me.
Quite impressed with that from Michael Smith. Not the usual beating of the chest and perhaps throwing the toys out the pram that we saw from him earlier in the year when he wasn't selected for the Premier League. There really does seem to be a level of maturity in Michael Smith right now. On to match number 3, and we round out the afternoon session in a game that it wasn't the easiest to watch on the eye. At times, it was quite methodical from both players, but Raymond Smith was superb once again. The Guru averaging 94 in this one, just under 40% on his doubles. That 93 to 97 range that Smith just seems to sit in constantly, Cam, is really, really dangerous at the minute.
It is, yeah. Just really solid again. It's that sort of performance that if you're not at 100%, he's going to beat you every single time because it's a consistent average as well. He's not fluctuating up and down. He's not going through spells where he's averaging 100 and spells where he's averaging 80. He's consistently around that level. So he's scoring well all the way through and then finishing. It wasn't quite as good today as it was in the first couple of rounds, but still pretty much 40%. It's good enough. You're not going to get yourself in too much bother if you're hitting 40% of your doubles. And thought it was really impressive. Hempel didn't really get into a rhythm at all. It's tough to follow up what he did against Dimmy in the last round, isn't it? We've seen it from a couple of players so far in this tournament where they've had big results and played really well and then struggled to follow it up. And at the end of the day, Hempel's got a long career ahead of him in this tour now. He's made a good start. Probably more than he could have dreamed of in his first time up there at the Worlds, and I think he'll carry on and just go from strength to strength as we go along. So I still think it's a good tournament for him, but Raymond Smith just keeps rolling on.
Yeah, I think for Hempel that there's a lot of attention on him now being German. That German media is absolutely insane. We've seen what it's done to Max Hoppe over the last couple of years, Martin Schindler as well, Gabriel Clemens climbing up. And I think perhaps the hype a little bit. You beat Dimitri, the German press will have gone absolutely mad for it. But Raymond Smith, guys, Marcus is I don't want to bring James Wade into it, but that is the perfect analogy. Raymond is the Aussie James Wade.
I shied away from saying that, but it's what I was
thinking. It is mid-90s average. It is 40% on the doubles. It's solid. It's hard to beat. He's very, very consistent on his own throw. To beat him, you're going to have to be throwing 12 dart legs just to take that throw off of him. Then he's going to be there if you miss in your own throw. It's just so difficult to beat, Charlie.
Yeah, this was the result I didn't see coming, to be honest. When I was following this game, when I was at the football, I really could not believe that this was and from coming the way it was, because Raymond Smith he's been all right, actually. He's built into the tournament, which is really nicely. And, you don't be playing your best game at the start because, you've got to sort of work your way through the tournament and build up nicely, which is somewhat what the best players do. Raymond Smith is getting better and better, and he's just hitting a consistent level. And players just aren't matching it, aren't better in that. And Florian Hempel, he just didn't get, as Cam said, he just didn't get into a rhythm today at all. And, I expected him to get the job done today, but Raymond Smith was the much better player. Might not have been the best on the eye, but he's got the job done and he's sat in the next round already.
Yeah, he continues to be the better player as he has been. He's been the underdog 3 times and he's won 3 times. A lot of talk right now about him potentially earning a tour card outright. I believe he's 2 wins away from doing so. He's already said that he doesn't want to go to Q School and he potentially might not even take that card. I suspect that if Kai was ready for Q School as well, they might be able to make that decision as a family and travel together. We've seen how much the two feed off each other in their interviews. But that will be a really, really interesting development if Raymond Smith continues to carry on winning games as he is, and let's hear from him in his post-match press conference.
64 in the world.
Yeah, so I'm aware that it's a thing. Not thinking about it. As I said last time, if it is going to be a thing, then I'll think about it in February.
Again, short but sweet, but just saying the right thing.
I think it's one win, isn't it? Just
potentially.
I think one win gets him the tour card.
I've only got one screwed up. Where are we? He is currently
taking to 50 grand, won't it?
It will take him to £50,000. That would put him up to 61st in the world ranking.
Max Hop bang in trouble.
Max Hop is in a lot of trouble. Something we did not think we would see a few years ago. On to what would have been the next game then. Obviously, we went into the evening session with only 2 games. James Wade, Vincent van der Voort pulling out. We've spoken about this at the start of the show. I'm not sure there's any more comments in the chat room for us to go back over this one now. So we're just going to move on to Price versus Kim Huybrechts in what, I'll tell you what, game of the tournament so far for me. This was absolutely electric. It had everything. It had a little bit of needle. It had unbelievable checkouts that cost me a fortune. It just had everything. The two were just feeding off each other. It was a superb game to watch, Cam.
It was absolutely brilliant, wasn't it? I honestly, you'd have thought I was in the room the way I was up and down and shouting at the telly and celebrating as shots were going in. Like you, we're both pretty big fans of Kim Huybrechts, so there's a lot of excitement in that game. And when you say that the big checkouts cost you the money, in the end, he hit more 180s as well. So
yeah,
you lost out anyway. So it was just magical, wasn't it? I can't believe that the averages are what they are when you look at them, like low 90s for both of them. It felt like a lot more than that watching it. I think when the big checkouts are flying in, and yeah, there were a lot of missed doubles in there as well. There's a lot of ropey finishing at times, but that just added to the excitement. And by far the best game we've seen so far, and could have gone either way right up until the last leg. I think Kim had his chances in the final set. I think it's one of those. It's not easy to get over the line against the world number one, and I thought he played fantastically tonight. Though I thought he gave Gezi absolutely everything throughout that game and gave it him back when he needed to. And there was a bit going on at one point. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but there were words exchanged, and the ref had to come over and have a word. So I don't know what exactly went on there, but clearly something went on. And I thought Kim actually held it together really well there, because Gezi had just won the leg and was one away from winning that. And they had the little moment, and Kim came back and went and won that leg quite comfortably, which I thought said a lot for his mental state up there and the practice he's put in between the first game and this one. And just a really, really enjoyable watch. And you almost feel like there's an extra spot there where Vinny's dropped out. None of these two really deserve to go out. Kim drop in and play James Wade now.
Please, how excited would that be? Look, I think, Charlie, that the averages 92, 93 is the perfect excuse. If you don't need 100 plus averages to make exciting games, I think you can account for that by the fact that the early sets, when they were won by a player, were won 3-0. They were won pretty comfortably, but they hit straight back. They threw everything at their opponent. So they were throwing well. Their opponent dropped off a little bit. It was sort of a case of legs were comfortable. It was only really in that deciding set where they started to put a lot of pressure onto each other's throw. Kim probably more so than Gerwin Price. He had plenty of opportunities to break that Gerwin Price throw in that deciding set. Plenty of moments where he G'd the crowd up, perhaps took his focus away from the dartboard a little bit. We saw that with Dirk earlier on in the evening, and then we saw that from Huybrechts following suit and it not coming off for him either.
Yeah, I mean, you've just got to see, obviously at the start, you've still got plenty of sets to play with, but when it gets to the nip and tuck of the game and when there's so much on it, the pressure, I thought Kim Huybrechts was gonna take the game, and I was so certain he was. I was speaking to some of my uni mates and they were saying this game's done now. Huybrechts will win this game, and he just didn't quite nail the double when he needed to, and Price hung around, and that's sometimes what you can tell when a player's in good form, because they find ways to win. And he probably shouldn't have won tonight, but he did, and he's still there, and he's in the next round. That's just the way that it is. But he stuck around, but I think he just about got over the line. There was opportunities when both, and the 180 hitting as well. They both went, punch for punch with each other, and it just must be a case of as soon as one of them got away, the other one pulled them back. So it was an incredible game. I just wish it could have gone on for even longer.
Yeah, it would have been magic to see it much, much longer. I suppose the deciding factor in this one is the number of ton plus checkouts. Gerwin Price finding 5 checkouts over the 100 mark, 3 for Kim Huybrechts. Absolutely superb battle. A lot of talk about Gerwin Price finding a way to win. I think in that deciding set, Kim Huybrechts finishing under pressure when he was so relaxed on his own throw, but the minute he knew he was throwing to break Gerwin Price, he just seemed to have this bit of a mental block. And look, we think back to some absolute classic games that Kim Huybrechts has been involved in. That victory over Marco van Gerwen at the Grand Slam nearly 10 years ago now. It doesn't seem to get over the line in enough of these exceptional encounters for him to make that push on to be back in the top 16, the top 8 players in the world. He needs to find a way to get over the line in these nip and tuck, highly excitable games. Plenty of players, people in the chat saying, where's the comment gone? I was more confident with Price on the big doubles than Huybrechts, and that's exactly the point. You just always felt that Price has been there, he's done it under pressure in these situations, and that would get him out of trouble in the end.
Yeah, I think with Huybrechts as well, we know he's good on 16s and he's good on 36 as well. Not so good on tops, 10s and 5s, and the big moments on Price he's throwing that final set seemed to come on. He seemed to be leaving himself tops where it was his only option coming in to leave himself the double at that point pretty much, and it just left him chasing a double that's not his favourite, and especially when you go inside first one and inside second one, it's such a tough switch back up to the 5 as well at that point.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things where it maybe just fell on the wrong double for him.
Yeah, potentially. I think you might well be right there. Before we hear from Gerwin Price, a word on the crowd. I think we've tried to touch on it where we can for the last 9 shows. We've tried to leave it alone unless it really needs addressing, but they just don't seem to be getting any better. I think both players were booed on the walk-on. Kim Huybrechts tried to use the crowd to his advantage throughout, geeing them up, trying to get involved a little bit, but some of the songs and the chanting tonight went over the line of what's acceptable. The xenophobia, I guess, is the way to describe it, towards Gerwin Price is not on. Again, we don't have the answers on how to address it. The PDC have created this absolute monster. They can't identify the individuals and remove them. There's only really if players are whistling, if crowds are whistling or shouting on a player's throw, that we ever really get a response from the referees or the stage officials. And I think everybody's pretty fed up with it right now. I'm not 100% all in on some people saying I'm fed up with the crowd for singing football songs and whatever. I just don't get what people think they're going to do at that point. They're the only sport in this country that really translates or sings songs is football. It's the only one that's ever going to translate and actually get the odd song at cricket. Rugby's pretty quiet. Other than that, you don't really get songs or chants that aren't Americanized that could come into the sport. You've lost the likes of Phil Taylor, Gary Anderson to an extent. Not all the top players have had the songs. And look, if the crowd's flat and not doing anything, they get moaned at. If they sing boring tables, they get moaned at. If they sing Stand Up If You Love the Darts, or It's Old, sing something new, they try and bring in football songs because that's what everybody knows. That's what will reverberate around the arena the quickest. They get moaned at. I don't know how they can win, because if they sit there like a BDO crowd, they'll get slated. It's just a bit of a no-win. But the point for tonight is that some of the songs today were over the line in the way that they targeted Gerwin Price. There was xenophobic, and there's absolutely no room for them in darts, which is an absolute joke.
No, I completely agree with you there. And I think I think, like you say, you can't throw the individuals out for it because, to be honest, it was the entire crowd pretty much for that game tonight. The only place where I think you probably could have kicked people out for some of the singing today was while Hempel was playing earlier on, and we had the song that, again, there's just no need for, but that was a very small section. It was sat just behind the stage, and you could see them. They were stood up singing it, and there was no one else singing it. So I think at that point, maybe something could have been done about singing the songs against the Germans. But other than that, I mean, it's just not acceptable just to do it. And it was pretty much throughout the entire game with Bryce tonight. And I don't mind them giving him a bit of stick and booing him. And I think he brings a little bit of that on himself when it comes to the booing and that side of things, because he does play the villain and play the victim with it a little bit. But there's just absolutely no need for any of that tonight. And it's just not what we want to see, is it? And it's just not. It's not right. And I think there is no way of stopping that, though. When it's the entire crowd, you cannot kick out the entire crowd. Like, what are you going to do?
Yeah, completely agree. And obviously, once again, Gerwin Price has been straight onto his Instagram story, a comical response to it, but perhaps one that sends a message that perhaps it's a little bit okay. There's a photo of him in his car with his daughters with their middle fingers up and an emoji of a sheep, which, yes, funny, hilarious. They don't care, but at the same time, possibly sends a message that fans are going to do it again. Not impressed with it. Sky have tried to mute it whenever they've heard it, but it's always about 3 lines into the song before they react to it. We've had the same with chants towards the UK Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, although I'm pretty sure most of us are all absolutely here for those right now. But the point still stands. It's broadcast in daytime. I listened to TalkSport earlier in the week. It's even more difficult for them to mute it because they literally just have the background that they're picking up from their mics, etc., I believe. So yeah, look, I genuinely don't know what the PDC do about it. It's a monster that they have created themselves, and I'm sure after Van der Voort's withdrawal earlier, they've got bigger things to worry about. But it is not really a good look for the sport. Let's move on from that. Let's hear then from Gerwin Price in his post-match press conference. And we've got one more game to review this evening, and we will look ahead to tomorrow's action as well. This is Gerwin Price.
From the past, we've played loads and loads of times, and every time we bring this energy, I seem to come through on top. So maybe next time when he plays me, he won't be so boisterous. Yeah, but knowing that I've come through a game so tight and, you know, with the crowd on my back and Kim playing probably some of the best darts that he's played all year, and I was under par and to still win, then yeah, it's a big tap on my back, and yeah, I got through by the skin of my teeth, but I'm still in.
Perfect response from Gezi. As always, much easier to do that when you have come out on top of an absolute ding-dong battle. Final game of the evening on a pretty one-sided affair. This one, Charlie. Johnny Clayton absolutely coasting past Gabriel Clemens. The big German not getting going at all, averaging just 87. But even if he had got going to the level that we've seen Gabriel Clemens throughout the season, I don't think it would have been enough. He won just 4 legs against Johnny Clayton, who averaged 102.56, absolutely blowing away the big German. And he was only 37.5% on those doubles as well.
That was a darting demolition job from Johnny Clayton tonight. I know you touched on there that Gabriel Clemens couldn't get going, but I don't think he was even allowed to get going, really, was he? Because any opportunity that Clayton got himself, he took it. He took any opportunity that he could, and that was really impressive. And he sent a serious message, because he's sort of just worked his way through the tournament so far, just under the radar a little bit. Johnny goes about his business in a completely different way to other players. He doesn't sort of bang his chest and say what he's going to do. He just goes about it in the way that I think is the best way for him. But tonight, that was seriously impressive, and that sent a message out to everybody. Not dropping a set, only dropping 4 legs, in the whole game, and a 102 average is pretty decent. And to keep it going and to maintain that level is seriously impressive.
Yeah, Cam, look, Johnny Clayton is part of the proclaimed Fab Four this year, but his odds to win this title were still pretty big coming into it. Surely, the man's won 4 TV tournaments this year. I know his record at Yali Pali is not great. This is his first time into the last 16. But how anybody can deny the form that Johnny Clayton is in. Don't get me wrong, tough part of the draw, tough game up next against Michael Smith. Interesting to hear him talk about them earlier. But this will be an absolute belter, and it would not surprise you if Johnny Clayton went and did absolute bits here, would it?
No, not at all. If he goes and wins this tournament, I would not be shocked in the slightest. And say he's not got the best record here, but one, he's not been this Johnny Clayton before when he's come here. I know he was in decent form last year, but he's not like he is this year. And so for me, I think that's kind of irrelevant about his record previously. And your record's only bad here until you go and change it. And he's looking like he's banging a position to go and do that this year. Just like Michael Smith said about him, he's just a professional. He just goes about his game, gets on with it. There's no messing about. There's no antics. There's nothing. He just plays his game and plays it to a very high level, which he did today. I just kind of want to say before we let it go, though, that I was disappointed with Gabriel Clemens, especially in that final set. He looked like he just put his tools down and didn't want to be there, which I know it wouldn't have changed the outcome tonight. Johnny was by far the better player, but averaging 70 in the final set of a game in the World Championship, when we've seen people come back from 3-0 down, I know it was unlikely the way Johnny was playing, but I thought it was really, really poor the way he just kind of put his tools down and went, "Oh, just get out of here."
Yeah, not the greatest TV performance once again from Clemens, Charlie. Don't get me wrong, he's recorded some decent victories on TV, beating Peter Wright earlier in the year for one of those, but he is another player whose floor form, especially 12 to 18 months ago, was far, far better than what he's showing on that TV at the minute. And another that perhaps the pressure of, it's a bit like Ding Junhui in the snooker, the pressure of being the absolute golden child in an emerging market that just adores the sport looks like it might be getting to Gabriel Clemens the minute he plays on TV.
Yeah, 100%. And, you know, as Cam said there, I was a bit disappointed with his performance. I thought he would have maybe not matched Johnny Clayton because that would have been very hard to match him, but he still would have been, you know, there to take the opportunity when he came. But I mean, the averages that Clayton brought out really for Clemens, he only averaged over 100 in one of the sets, which you'd expect to do pretty decent in that set, and he only won one leg with Clayton averaging 115. So it's one of them. But as you say, that the form that he's shown on TV isn't exactly there. But it was just a shame to see him drop off as much as he did in that final set and just completely give up, because we've seen in this World Championship more than ever that once a player gets on a roll, they can like Mervin King did, they can just reel off legs very quickly, and it puts the Johnny Clayton under pressure. So with him close to getting over the line, a 73 average, that's not going to bother him at all.
Yeah. TV form, not great for Clemens, is very, very good for Johnny Clayton. And this is what he had to say in his post-match press conference.
Yeah, hopefully. I'd love, listen, I'd love to be world number one. But it's like everybody else. We all chase a dream. And I'm still in this tournament to pick my dream up, and I'll be that trophy at the end of it.
Johnny, many congratulations.
Thank you, pal.
Short and sweet. Plenty of those tonight, but congratulations, Johnny Clayton, into the last 16 for the very first time. A few people saying Fantasy Darts is not loading for them. I haven't looked, but I am concerned that if I try to do so, my internet might not hold up to be host of this video as well. So we'll bring you an update possibly tomorrow, if not the day afterwards, once we've had a chance to get a little bit deeper into this round as well. We'll keep you updated with the OD League. PB is in the background. Hopefully, he's going to ping me a message telling me what our first prize is, but he hasn't done so yet. We'll work that out as always. I promise you that is coming to the winner. A few comments before we look ahead to tomorrow. Rose says, who saw the pic of Johnny working for the council on Xmas Eve? What a guy. I think that's what makes Johnny Clayton so special. And then Kevin asked a really interesting question. Do people think the game between the number one seed's first game and second game is too long? I do. And that is the problem, that since the 32 seeded players go straight into the second round, it's a necessary evil. But you always want that world defending champion opening up on night one. I've just seen what you two are sniggering at. Yeah, thanks a lot, boys. With that, let's move on to tomorrow night's action. I'm just about to get the games up so we can look ahead to them. And we start tomorrow afternoon, boys, with Steve Lennon against Mervyn King in a very, very open part of the draw. A big opportunity here for one of these players to potentially make a quarter final. I'll start with you, Charlie. Prediction, please.
Yeah, a game that's going to be really good. Mervyn King clicked in his last game. Steve Lennon again's really impressed me with how he's gone so far. I'm gonna side with Mervyn King. I think he wins. Yes, I'm going to go with Adam there. I think he wins 4-2. I think just that extra experience that he's got from being around a little bit longer, and the consistency that he's got. But this game could go either way. But I'm going to go with Mervyn King.
Cam, on to you.
I fancy the upset here. I'm really sure why. I haven't really got a great deal of basis for why I think I fancy the upset. But I've been impressed with Steve Lennon so far. Mervyn King less so, even though he did sort of turn it on. He started poorly in his last game, but then he did turn it on and play a lot better towards the end. I think Steve Lennon, the same as Marcus, I think Steve Lennon wins 4-2.
Plenty in the chat room. Look, he's not on the wall behind me today. That is a photo of London, perhaps. But that's what happens when you come home and don't live here for 8 years. I am also going to Mervyn King, and I'm going to say a 4-2 victory for Merv also, which means put your house on Steve Lennon if this show's track history has anything to go by. On to match number 2, and it is a game that Ryan Searle asked for after he won his last game. He takes on Danny Noppert, a man he has not beaten yet. Cam, starting with you, where are you going with this one?
Yeah, I think Searle wins this one, and I think he changes that record and gets the win in the game that he asked for, in the game that he wanted. He's just playing really, really well right now. There's not many playing better than Ryan Searle at the moment, as we saw at the Players' Championship finals as well, with him making the final. I think he gets through this 4-2.
Charlie, on to you.
Yeah, I think Ryan Searle will win, especially in the game that he's asked. I think it maybe goes a little bit closer. I'm going to go 4-3 to Ryan Searle. I think Danny Noppert has impressed me recently, but I think Searle will just about get the job done. He's asked for it, and I think his game is in a better place right now.
Yeah, you'd be a brave man to ask for this game and not come well equipped for it. I think it goes close, but I think Searle just has that extra spark in those moments where he needs it at the minute. We have seen Danny Noppert go deep in TV tournaments, but I'm not sure that run continues. And I think Ryan Searle wins this one 4-2. It looks like Colin's gone 4-3 with the shift button locked in. Heavy metal, the knot cannot stop, says G's Adventures. On to the final game of the afternoon session, and this one promises to be played at a good pace. Things we love to see here at Online Darts. Joe Cullen takes on Martijn Kleermaker. Cam, I'll start with you.
Yeah, this is exactly what we want to see, isn't it? It's going to flow. Even if they both average 70, it's going to look like they're averaging 95. It's going to flow nicely. It's going to be a good watch. And I think it's going to suit both of them. I think we'll see an absolute cracker here. But I think that Joe Cullen's just got that slightly higher top level. And I think this is the perfect game for him to find it with how it will flow as well. And I think he probably gets over the line relatively comfortably. I think 4-1.
On to you, Charlie.
Yeah, I was thinking the same, to be honest. I think there's a big difference between the two players, and I just think Martijn Kleermaker sometimes lets himself down on the outer ring, and that'll probably cost him because the game will be played at a pace which will suit both players. The game will flow. It will be very quickly done, this one, but I do think the Rockstar will win. I think he'll win 4-1 and comfortably get through into the next round.
I agree with the pace. I'm just not sure it will be that comfortable for Joe Cullen. I think if he doesn't start on his game 100%, there's a chance that you find yourself 2 sets behind very, very quickly when a game is played it that way, and protecting against that. I'm going to say Cullen wins it, but but I think he wins it in a 7-setter. I think Joe Cullen gets over the line 4-3 for me, and that will round off the afternoon session into the evening. And what a session of darts this is. We start with former TV title winners between them. Rob Cross takes on Daryl Gurney. Charlie, what a game this could be. Where are you going with this one?
Well, I'm hoping now that we've said that it's going to be a great night of darts, it actually is a great night of darts, because sometimes, God, when we come on here and say that the next day is going to be amazing, it turns out to be absolutely horrendous. So,
this can't not deliver. This cannot not deliver. Like, tonight's session was meant to deliver, and we got at least one game to do so.
Yeah,
obviously, we lost one of those games, but this can't not deliver.
I would expect it to. And that first game, Gurney's just starting to get himself into a little bit of form. I think Rob Cross will win, but I think he wins 4-2. I think Gurney takes 2 sets off him, and it's still going to be a battle for Rob Cross. I think there'll be quite a few last leg deciders where it could go either way, but that's set play for you. But I think Rob Cross in the key moments will get over the line, and I think he wins 4-2.
Cam, for you?
Yeah, I love how you've just completely ruined tomorrow night now. You've basically done the equivalent of saying it will definitely not be 0-0 this game, and it's nailed on to be nothing but that. That being said, I've got to agree with you. I can't see it being anything other than a cracking session, so I'm going to do it as well. Might as well all just ruin it for everyone. And I think this first game is going to be a really good one. Recent sort of matches between the pair, Rob Cross has kind of shaded them, and I think he edges the overall between them. Well, I think that continues. I think just last few months, we've seen such an upturn in his form. He's getting back to somewhere near his best. I don't think he's there yet, but he's consistently sort of improving and getting better as well. I think he wins it 4-2. I don't think it goes quite as close as some in the chat are thinking it might, but I think he gets over the line relatively comfortably.
7-setter all day long for me. 7-setter in this one. Daryl Gurney, he should have beaten Gerwin Price the year that the man went on to win the world title. He loves an absolute dogfight, a scrap, and that is what he will get from Rob Cross. We will see moments where both players produce their A games. There'll be lots and lots of 180s in this one. There'll be the odd moment of tension on the outer ring, and I think Rob Cross will sneak over the line in a 7th set. Penultimate game of the day, match number 2 in the evening. The man that was hoping to be world number 1 by the end of this tournament, but I think those hopes have now gone after Gerwin Price won earlier. He's guaranteed to still be the top dog. Peter Wright takes on Damon Hetter. Cam, I'll come to you first on this one. Where you going?
Yeah, I was just checking that. You are absolutely spot on. He is 250 quid ahead, even if he goes out next and Peter Wright goes on and wins it. So, yeah.
Imagine my surprise, by the way, that we need to back in Damon Hetter.
You beat me to it. I was just looking in there for it then, in the comments. I don't think that happens. I don't think it even gets close to happening. I think Peter Wright wins this 4-1. It's just a little bit failed to be impressed with Damon Hetter a lot of the time. Yes, we know he has got the game where he can fire in the 180s and go off and do it, but I think too much of the time we don't see that from him, and I don't think you can get away with doing that against Peter Wright, and he'll go on and win this 1-4-1.
For you, Charlie?
Yeah, I think there will be a difference between the two. I don't think Hetter will get close. I think in the early stages it could be pretty nip and tuck between the two, but I think Wright will edge it, and I think he'll win 4-2 in this game. But still a really good game, and both players will be hopefully at their best.
Yeah. As ever, I preempt this snakebite prediction on the assumption that he turns up with the gold darts that he won the match play with. If he rocks up with them, I think he wins 4-2. Anything else, he might find himself behind to start with, but I do still expect a snakebite win in this one. Yeah, exactly that. Right, what darts he using? Absolutely no idea. One of G says one of Peter's 63 sets of darts will be enough. I think it's a little bit more than 63, to be honest, mate. He's got millions. If you've ever seen
that's just what he's used this
his man cave, that's just what he's practiced with on Christmas Day when he should have been cooking the turkey. Final game of the evening, boys. And if anybody's listened to us throughout the week, I think there's going to be a bit of an upset in this one. But I'll ask you for your score predictions first. Charlie, it is Michael Van Gerwen against Chris Doby. One for the Northeast boys, if any of them are watching.
None on the show, so we're all right.
Yeah, Dan's in the chat room. Big result for Newcastle earlier this evening. Will they get another tomorrow?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'm hoping that he does it for us Northeast boys. But I'm expecting this to go all the way. I really am. And I think I'm going to go with the upset in this one. I just think when it comes to that moment, I just think MVP sometimes tend to crumble on the darts at the double that he needs. So I'm going to go 4-3 to Chris Doby. I think Doby pulls out a pretty impressive performance and causes an upset.
He's stolen my go. Cam?
Yeah, I don't think there's an upset here whatsoever. First off, obviously, because Dan's watching, congratulations to Newcastle on winning 1-1 today. Against a very average side. But just alienate most of the chat in one go. It's all right. Yeah, I don't think this is close at all. And I just don't see the Chris Doby's 0 from 8 against Van Gerwen, and I think it's 0 from 9 tomorrow night, and it's probably pretty easily 0 from 9 as well. I think it's 4-1 to Van Gerwen.
What a stinker of a prediction. I've been saying it all week, but saying it given Chris Doby's form throughout the year. The man absolutely loves a ton average at the minute. Sensational game. And the issue is he's been dragging his opponent up with him every time he seems to have done that so far this year. Look, Chris Doby was not the best Chris Doby that we've seen in round 2. He was the last player to enter the tournament, was 2-0 down to Rusty Jake, but never really looked in trouble at 2-0 down. He won 3-0. I think we see a different gear from Chris Doby this time around if he gets out of the blocks early, and in doing so, it's a 4-2 win for Chris Doby. But obviously, would not be surprised to see Michael Van Gerwen absolutely walk away with this one. Gents, thank you very, very much for joining me this evening. We'll be back with a Fallout Bar tomorrow night. I say we. Lee Boyce will be hosting tomorrow night as I will be moving house. I'm not sure if either of you are on the show. I can never find the rotor when I need it. It might be Luke and Scott, maybe?
Just have it now for you. We've got... Oh, where are we? Lost it now. Tomorrow's Tuesday, isn't it?
Nope.
Yeah, it is. It's Tuesday tomorrow. Yeah, Charlie and Luke with Lee. Charlie
that looks like a surprise to Charlie, but he'll be back tomorrow night. Oh, with a proper Northeast lad. Luke is on the show. You can, you can have a conversation about what it's like to be from that part of the UK. Massive thank you to everybody in the chat room tonight. You guys have all been absolutely fantastic. A reminder, a big thank you to our friends at BoyleSports for sponsoring all of our World Championship coverage throughout the week. Sam Tizzle has been on absolute fire with his bets for you guys. You can catch them on social media, TikTok and Twitter before the sessions get underway. And don't forget to follow us across all of our social medias. That's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and use our website to keep up with all of the latest news. A big thank you to everybody watching, and we will see you all tomorrow. Take care.